You only have one chance to make a first impression. While investors sit in front of you, eager to lift their hands on the new stakes, it's up to you to impress them. You feel strong about your ideas. Content is fresh and creative. Business plan is ready, the structure is organized, and you never felt good about your product and you're ready to make the final push for funding. But one thing you may not have is a strong pitch deck design.
First, let's talk about the use of icons. Icons are simple visual representations of a specific object, idea, or information. It is used to explain abstract concepts and complex contents in your presentations. Icons improve our communications effectiveness in sending the intended messages to our audiences because it supports the content and draws engagement to your pitch deck. For example, instead of just stating that the product you are presenting as profitable, you can use visual icons that symbolizes profits. In this way, your idea as well as your pitch deck will be more presentable and easy to remember. Next is the use of typefaces and fonts in pitch deck. The typeface is the particular design of a type, while the font refers to the typeface variations in its size, weight, and style. We need to know how to choose the proper typeface and font for our decks to convey the intended feeling and also build recognition to our audiences. Here are some samples of feelings we promote when using serif, sans serif font style, and script. Lastly, what are the use of other elements? These includes images, graphics, and illustrations. Similar to the icons application, elements are used to explain complex ideas and visualize the contents. There is an effect called the picture superiority effect, where information is remembered longer if we add a visual representation than just using text. It is also important to note the proper use of icons, fonts, and other elements. We should always take into account their position and sizes in pitch deck to enable us to provide the information hierarchy and produce harmony in the presentation. That is just the tip of the iceberg. For us to understand more of the use of icons, fonts, and other elements, let's break down and analyze the successful pitch deck of Airbnb last 2009 that was pitched to investors on their original fundraise, as well as its redesigned version and with more samples.
Cover slide. The cover slide is the first slide of the pitch deck. It shows the company name, company logo, tagline, and a powerful visual. For some, they include their contact information. Think about the cover slide as a movie of a trailer. It sets the expectation and helps the investors to quickly understand what they are about to review. So at the very beginning, you're setting up the tone and scenario for what they are about to see. Next, we will be using Air Bed and Breakfast as a reference to explain the different use of icons, fonts, and other elements in a pitch deck slide. As you can see, the new cover slide looks better than the old version. You will notice that they changed their font from Helvetica Neue to Lato, a simple lightweight font that gives a fresh look. Also, they decided to put a picture for their background, not just to look attractive, but to capture the essence of their company and their service. The other element that you're going to have is the logo and name. They are often the first element of your brand that investor, target audience, and market will encounter. Then, put it along with the tagline. The tagline should be self-explanatory and written in simple words without any startup jargon. For example, the tagline of Air Bed and Breakfast, book rooms with locals rather than hotels. It is perfect because it tells what the business is about. Just a little reminder, the correct choice of color, icon, font, and text size is vital for attracting your target audience and investor.
Problem slide. In presentations, problem slides is where most presenters struggles. When designing a problem slide, it should always be readable and neat. And in order to do so, you have to make sure that each statement should fit in a single line. Highlighting the keywords or phrases in each sentences is also important. Problem slides need to create a connection with the audience or the investors that you are pitching to. Make sure they are written in simple words and in a way that allows them to empathize with the problem easily. Also take a look at the highlights. It emphasizes the keywords, which will automatically draw the eye of the reader to it. If the reader tends to scan the content rather than reading it thoroughly, then highlighting keywords is important. In that way, despite the reader missing out some points from your slide, the keywords will instill in his mind. Just like the problem slide, the solution slide must consist of the 3 most important summarized reasons to convince your audience. It must consist of your core value propositions. Let's take a look once again at these slides. Comparing the two, the second one is much more visually appealing compared to the first one. The use of icons and highlights were able to make the audience understand on what the content is all about. It is minimal yet very comprehensive for the audience. Also bear in mind that it is important to talk about the benefits of your product rather than the product's feature.
Market validation. For the Airbnb, they use Craigslist and Couchsurfing as these are the closest existing reference they can have for validation. Basically, these two contains listings of people who offers their home or their places to everyone. Craigslist listings are for rent, while Couchsurfing listings are for free. On Airbnb's old pitch deck, they just simply enlarged the number and that's it. What the number represents weren't given any emphasis, as it is written in the smallest size and it is hard to read. While on the new pitch deck, they have decided to change the color of the two websites they are presenting to color black and underlining it to give emphasis. The numbers are also reduced by size, but still being the highlight, while the words below it were enlarged. With these changes, the data looks more put together, readable, and comprehensible. Here on the old slide, they have encircled the numbers they are showing with 3 circles that get smaller each time. They made a simple and digestible market size, making a very strong emphasis on the biggest number, which is the trips booked yearly worldwide. The sources they put below in order to support their data were a great idea, but it wasn't big enough to read easily. For the new slide, it gets better. Airbnb got rid of the big overwhelming circles, decided to put the numbers and not overemphasize anything. They have also enlarged the 15% of available market as opposed to the previous slide where you can't even read it properly. And the sources were put on the side below, making it look more organized. And with these changes, the data looks more put together, readable, and comprehensible.
The product slide summarizes the core functionality of the product in as few words or images as possible. We can use icons, images, a short video, and other elements if we want to replace long sentences and paragraphs. In the original Airbnb design, the search by city, right arrow, review listings, right arrow, book it, helps guide viewers in what the interface does, and implies that the process only took or consists of 3 simple steps. However, it did not allow the viewers to fully appreciate the actual product since the images of the site they used are too small. In the new design, 1 slide is allotted for each relevant step. It will now help the viewers to appreciate the actual product and see the process since the images of the site are now bigger and clearer. Or, we can use icons instead of images if we want to stick with just 1 slide.
Business model shows the potential the company has in the existent market. It also shows and describes the vision of the founder on where they want the product or the services to be in the future. Like in any other elements in the pitch deck, the business model slide also requires uniformity in design and conciseness in content, even though people usually expect complex concept in these types of slides. Thus, the need to remove the circles in the redesigned version of the Airbnb pitch deck. This is the old version of the Airbnb pitch deck. This is the new version of the business model slide of the Airbnb pitch deck. The redesigned version instead gives emphasis on the essential elements like the 10% commission statement. Adoption strategy is often called the go-to market strategy. Adoption strategy should at least summarize 2 to 3 core customer acquisition methods that will be used to grow the business. Distracting elements is a common mistake people do in creating a pitch deck. So, in the adoption strategy of the redesigned Airbnb pitch deck, which is this, notice how they removed elements that were deemed unnecessary and outdated to solve the problem of confusing visuals.
So for our number 9, it is the competition. It is a contest between companies who has the same target audience to increase sales and acquire more customers. So for this slide, it is important to indicate a diagram to let them see the differences. As we can see here on the horizontal axis, there's offline versus online, while on the vertical axis, there's affordable versus expensive. And they put the competitors to where it is indicated. Note that you define the 2 core differentiators of your product and set up the chart so it always shows up on the top right corner. With this, it is easier to state the point. Number 10, the competitive advantages. So for this slide, it is important to point out the core benefits. Benefits and not the features. Comparisons of the new slides and the old slides of Airbnb. The new slide is more eye-catching because it has like the illustrations and the fact that the visuals are not exaggerated, the designs are minimal, which is more pleasing to the eyes of the audience.
For users' testimonials, pick the part that talks about the core benefits of your product. Testimonials support your product claims. We must keep it simple, short, and direct for the audience to get the meaning quickly. If your reviews are too long, only pick the important part. To make it more engaging, put your customer pages for visuals along with their name and location. It makes the reviews personal, real, and convincing. In the Airbnb Pitch Deck 2009, we can see that they put poor reviews. The faces are too large that the text looks so small. But in Slide When Redesign, they cut it down into 3 reviews, making the text more larger and readable, while putting smaller photos of the faces. Applying the rule of odds makes it more visually pleasing. Thus, putting it together in a straight line makes it more clean and appealing.
Moving on to presenting the theme. A lot of companies struggle with presenting the theme slide. The most common mistake is putting the whole team in the slide, including the advisors and contractors, putting irrelevant experiences, and even writing a full bio rather than the key points. Well, what information are you going to present? How much information are you going to give? How many people should be in your slide, and who are they? Those are the common questions that rises when it comes to this part of the slide. A good rule of thumb is always ask the question, why you or why them? You could also stick to the founding team or use the hustler, hacker, hipster trio. And as always, keep it simple. Focus on listing achievements rather than academic titles. After all, experience matters a lot more. For the press slide, it is all about providing validation and credibility to your concept. It means that your concept is interesting enough to be featured in this website or magazine. Reviews can also be used here, but when picking a review, be sure that the reviewer talks about the core benefits of your product or service.
The financials. The financial is probably one of the most important elements in a pitch deck because it will showcase the company's current financial plan and for the following years. Therefore, it is crucial to present it simple and clear. The solution is use icons, fonts, and other necessary elements that may help to represent the financial plan. For example, let's take the original and redesigned financial slide of Air Bed and Breakfast from their public pitch deck. The original slide doesn't contain any icons. However, they use elements, a circle, a vertical line, and an arrow line to represent the financial plan of the company, along with the written words and numbers. Their font is a nice but standard Helvetica. Capitalization, point sizes, and boldface were used to highlight the important words and numbers. For redesigned slide, they changed the font from Helvetica to Lato to give the financial slide a fresher look. Capitalization, point sizes, and boldface are still used to highlight the important words, even without the use of icons and other necessary elements.